Well, hello YouTube, it's me, Fortmaster, and welcome back to another overly sarcastic productions reaction, and it's another history summarized video, and one about Sparta, no less. Again, history summarized, Sparta's finest hour. Wasn't the last history summarized that they put out about Sparta? Yeah, so the last history summarized was about the cities of ancient Sparta, so now they're doing Sparta's finest hour. So, yeah, ancient Sparta kick. I'm all over it. So yeah, original is linked in the description as always. Corner card will be linking to my Let's Play of the day. And without further ado, let's get into this then, shall we?
Around 345 BC, King Philip of Macedon had neared his great conquest of Greece, an immense task no city or empire had ever achieved. All that lay between him and his goal was the Valley of Laconia in the southern Peloponnese, home of the legendarily fearsome Spartans. Now, Sparta had defied invaders in the past and had little reason to fear the Macedonian king. So when Philip warned that if I come into your lands, I will defeat you and drive you out, never to rise again, Sparta replied with a single word.
If.
That is the story of Spartan bravado as popular legend remembers it. However, observant viewers will note that it is no longer 345 BC, and time has indeed progressed onward, so what happened to Sparta after their famous retort? Well, in 338, Philip did come into Laconia, did defeat the Spartans, did drive them from the lands they'd held for centuries, and what do you know, they never rose again. Several years later,
So it turns out bravado is not worth anything if you don't have anything to back it up.
Alexander the better things to do was off in campaign in Asia and reportedly called a failed Spartan uprising a battle of mice. Boom roasted. Sparta had talked the absolute biggest game with the fewest letters possible, but when it actually came time to tango, they got their clocks cleaned by the socks the Macedonians had knocked off. It went terribly. Yet everyone else in Greece saw it coming a century away. Sparta hadn't won a major battle since conquering Athens, and their entire Panhellenic Empire came crumbling down in 371 after losing one fight against the Thebans. The Thebans! This major military innovation was being gay on main and stabbing a little harder on the left side of the phalanx. No disrespect to Thebes, but if that's all it took to topple the empire that bested Athens, the resulting portrait of Spartan battle prowess is embarrassingly weak. The bravery and virtue that defined them in the Persian Wars had fallen into parody, and with the arrival of the Macedonian steamroller met by chest thumping in the field and limpness in the shield, it's hard to say Sparta died anything other than an idiot's death.
Actually, yeah, that was that was something I remember watching in another video. Sorry, the allergies are still messing with me. But yeah, this whole thing of Sparta basically coasting on their ancient warrior culture it didn't end there. What was I can't remember who I watched it from, but they were literally talking about what happened with Sparta afterwards. And they got to the point where Rome, had expanded and they conquered Greece and stuff like that. And Sparta basically became a classical world tourist trap. They basically made a tourist attraction based on their ancient warrior history and stuff like that. And I just find that so funny.
In the new Hellenistic age of the Macedonian kings, Sparta languished as a backwater, left nominally independent because they were too insignificant to actually kill and too annoying to occupy, so simply easier to just ignore. It is hard to imagine that Sparta could accomplish anything of honor or renown after this
overcompensating crybabies.
Yet, once again, if we wind the clock forward, we see something remarkable. Not a military victory, don't be ridiculous, this is Sparta we're talking about, but an extraordinary demonstration of valor by two outstanding Spartans. To see how, let's do some history.
Oh, so is this what he's talking about, finest hour? I thought he was going to be talking about a battle or something.
Now, as if I haven't thrown enough scholarly caveats in the way of this story, it bears noting that our primary source here is Plutarch, a Roman biographer writing 4 centuries after the fact at a time when Sparta was a theme park caricature of itself for the amusement of rich Roman tourists.
What was I literally just talking about?
Everything Plutarch says about Sparta plays to that macho stereotype. Plutarch is also a devoted worshipper of the drama, and everything he writes is a holy offering to the great goddess of midnight confessions and tearful goodbyes in the rain. Despite all this, Plutarch is still the best source we have, and his biographies make for compelling reads.
Yeah, that's kind of a sad thought, isn't it? I remember somebody saying there were 90% of history has gone unrecorded, and this is kind of, that's a sad thought.
So onward to Sparta. Almost 1 century to the year after Sparta ran their mouth with that if business, Cleomenes III takes his place as king of the Achaemenid dynasty. Sparta had 2 co-regent kings from 2 different dynasties, it's the whole thing, and he was scandalized by the moral decadence, obsession with material wealth, and disinterest with statecraft that had infected Spartan life. In the decade prior, the other dynasty's king, August IV, had attempted to reform the state and restore some discipline, but Cleomenes' own father, Leonidas II, opposed the plan, sabotaged his reforms, and got him sentenced to death.
Forming the state for the good of the people? Very un-Spartan of you.
Whoopsies. So Cleomenes wanted to softly apologize for the backstab and make good on what Agis had intended. With the help of his mother, Cratysiclea, he started a war with the Achaeans to the north and threw a mini coup on the Spartan government to make way for his reforms. Cleomenes' inspiration was the ancient Spartan Lycurgus, who is said to have given Sparta its military might and anti-luxury lifestyle. He knew that going to war with a reduced Spartan population was a bold strategy, but his idea, according to Supreme Spartabu Plutarch, was that, win or lose, restoring Sparta's ancient discipline, purpose, and excellence were worth the risk. Cleomenes' choice to live in an austere house and act virtuously made other Greek kings say that he alone was a descendant of Heracles. So Plutarch claims, purely for literary effect. But the campaign continued, and Cleomenes captured the city of Argos for the first and only time in Sparta's history. Unfortunately, their Achaean enemies called in Macedonia for help, and their superior numbers, weapons, and training pushed Sparta out of Argos and back into Laconia, quickly depriving them of all the territory they had so swiftly and dramatically gained. At the same time, his beloved wife Agiatis died while he was in the field, and Cleomenes was heartbroken. Here you can really see the Roman influence in the narrative. Now, Cleomenes is in a bind, but true to Greek tradition, the best weapon against Macedonians was other Macedonians, because the Ptolemaic dynasty of Egypt was all too eager to mess with the Antigonid kings in northern Greece. However, Ptolemy's condition for military aid was that Cleomenes send his mother and children to Alexandria to live as hostages. Now, we have to stop and imagine the hellish twist of Cleomenes losing the first phase of the war, and his wife, then having to tell his entire family that he ransomed them for an army to fight the war he started. Or put yourself in the sandals of...
Yeah, it doesn't seem like the best move now, does it?
Cratysiclea, leaving Sparta for the last time ever to get on a ship for Alexandria. I personally can think of worse fates than living in the grandest city in ancient Greek history, but for a dignified and austere Spartan, nowhere on earth could be more offensive to their sensibilities. But deals are deals, and an army's an army, so Cleomenes came to his mother, distraught, and struggled to explain what was happening, but Plutarch says she laughed, assuring him that it was nothing to fear, and rather she was happy to be of some use to Sparta in her old age. Yet, on her way to the ship, even she was overcome with emotion, taking her son into the temple of Poseidon and embracing him in anguish for one last time. She then regained her composure and said, "Come, O king of the Lacedaemonians, when we go forth, let no one see us weeping or doing anything unworthy of Sparta, for this lies in our power, and this alone." And with that, they stepped out, she boarded the ship, and the mother of a Spartan king was gone. This moment of supreme political and military weakness becomes a demonstration of pure selfless virtue. Yet, as we've learned so far, the story continues, and it doesn't work out great for Cleomenes. For a minute there, it looked alright, but there was no defeating the Macedonian war machine for good. He made major gains in the Peloponnese, and once again got close to restoring Sparta's old domains, but it all came crashing down at the Battle of Silesia, which reads suspiciously similar to the Battle of Thermopylae, complete with a betrayal and the enemy outflanking the Spartans through a narrow mountain pass. Maybe the Spartans truly are that incapable of learning from past mistakes, but I choose to interpret this as Plutarch paying Cleomenes the highest compliment, by giving him the full Leonidas treatment with all the dignity and glory that entails. Of the 6,000 Spartans in the field that day, 4,000 had been trained through Cleomenes' reforms, and all but 200 died. Nearly the entire Spartan citizenry died defending Sparta. Cleomenes escaped to Egypt, where he reunited with Cratysiclea, but Sparta itself died in that battle, as the polis was occupied by the Macedonian king and the ancient dual kingship was broken. But even if they survived the war, it wouldn't have mattered once Rome came onto the scene in the following century, so maybe Sparta got the good ending after all with one final Thermopylae. While most of Sparta's choices have been and continued to...
I mean, what is it that... I forget who said it. Somebody said, history doesn't repeat itself, it rhymes. And, yeah, that rhymed all right.
To be absolutely moronic on paper, I can't help but respect the commitment to an idea when it would have been infinitely easier to continue lazing around like they had been for the past century and a half. The meme reading of this story is that Sparta loses again, but the moral Plutarch and later poets derived from this is that virtue cannot be outraged by fortune. They knew they were screwed, but they never gave up or quit from doing what's honorable. It's telling that Plutarch makes the life of Cleomenes a foil to Rome's Gracchi brothers, who likewise died for their ideals. Cleomenes and Cratysiclea showed more than just grace under pressure, they proved how peril and even failure can forge moral excellence. And that is a hell of a lot more impressive than saying if. Thank you for watching.
Yeah.
This story is perhaps best adapted by the Alexandrian Greek poet.
What's going on? Yeah, I have no idea what happened there. My entire computer froze for a second. Let's try to get back to, we were almost at the very end of the video, so let's try to fix this, shall we?
For their ideals. Cleomenes and Cratysiclea showed more than just grace under pressure, they proved how peril and even failure can forge moral excellence. And that is a hell of a lot more impressive than saying if. Thank you for watching. This story is perhaps best adapted by the Alexandrian Greek poet Constantine Cavafy in his poems In Sparta and Come, O King of the Lacedaemonians, which longtime viewers of the channel may recall I wrote my undergraduate honors thesis all about. It's linked down with the sources. One day, Cavafy will get his History Makers episode, I promise you that, and I'll see you in the next one.
What else can you say? I mean, like, every civilization hits its peak, and then afterwards it's a slow decline. Somebody said that bankruptcy happens, whether it be like financial, moral, or anyway, it happens slowly and then suddenly. Sparta hit its peak, and then it was the slow decline as all of its, as basically all of its like foundations and it just slowly eroded away. And then you have somebody trying to rebuild it, and then I guess that one, even though he tried his best, he failed, and that was the one kick it needed for everything to come falling down and for Sparta to be finally conquered. I mean, it's kind of sad at the same time, but what can you do? That's history. It's happened, and I mean, you can't change it unless you start lying. So yeah, original video is linked in the description, as always. Corner video shall be linking to my newest Let's Play. And with that out of the way, I hope you guys liked. If you did, leave a like, subscribe if you have not, and I'll see you guys next time. Goodbye.